You're walking through a quiet forest. A deer freezes at the tree line and stares directly at you. And for 1 second, you wonder, what is actually going through its mind right now? We spend all our time studying animals, filming them, following them with drones. We almost never flip the question around and ask what they think about us. Here's what nobody tells you at the zoo or feeding ducks at the park. You are not the only one having an experience. Something on the other side of those eyes is also processing, evaluating, and forming an opinion. Right now, somewhere in the world, a crow is memorizing a human face. A dolphin is assigning a specific person a unique name. An elephant is deciding, from one encounter years ago, whether a human can be trusted. These aren't metaphors. These are documented, peer-reviewed findings, and they all point to the same uncomfortable conclusion. Animals don't just react to us. They think about us. Let's start with crows, animals with one of the most sophisticated social memories in the entire animal kingdom, and a significant chunk of it is dedicated specifically to humans. Researchers wore specific masks while trapping crows on a university campus. Weeks later, those same masked researchers walked through campus doing nothing threatening at all. The crows immediately recognized the masks and began diving, scolding, and mobbing the researchers on site. Here's where it gets remarkable. The crows taught their own offspring to recognize and fear that exact mask. Offspring who had never personally had a bad experience with it at all. A crow that has never met you can already have an opinion about you because its parents told it to. You have a reputation in the crow community, and you never even got a first impression. Crows that were treated kindly remembered that as well, landing closer to familiar humans, and in some documented cases, bringing them small gifts. Crows are essentially maintaining social files on individual humans, and honestly, their filing system might be more reliable than most HR departments. Dogs are the animal most of us think we already understand. We've lived alongside them for over 15,000 years, and their brains have been shaped by that closeness ever since. Brain scans on awake, trained dogs found something remarkable. When a dog smells its own owner, the reward center of its brain activates more than it does for food, other dogs, or even a favorite toy. You are, biochemically, your dog's greatest reward. Better than food. That is either the sweetest thing you'll hear all week, or it explains the fridge door stare. Dogs read our emotions constantly. Studies show they can tell the difference between a happy face and an angry face, even from a total stranger they've never met before. They understand human pointing gestures instinctively, in a way that even chimpanzees, our closest genetic relatives, consistently fail to replicate in lab tests. We ran an unconscious 15,000-year selective breeding program for emotional intelligence, aimed directly at reading us. We made them good at us, and they became very, very good at us. It goes deeper than recognition. When owners are anxious or stressed, their dog's own cortisol levels measurably shift in response. They don't just notice our stress, they absorb it. There's real hormonal synchronization during calm physical contact. Oxytocin rises in both of you simultaneously. It's mutual. You are not just petting your dog. You are chemically bonding with it in real time. If crows keep individual files on humans, elephants keep entire archives. In studies in Kenya, elephants responded with far more fear to the scent and clothing of one specific human group than another. This wasn't a response to one bad individual. It was a generalized cultural assessment of an entire human group, maintained across the whole herd and passed down to calves who had no direct experience to justify it. We have been categorized by elephants based on our collective track record. And our collective track record, it has to be said, is mixed at best. Elephants have been documented gently touching the bodies of familiar humans with their trunks and returning to those same spots years later. Is that grief? We can't say for certain what's happening internally, but the behavior is documented, repeatable, and completely different from how they react to any other death. Something is happening in that brain that isn't simple reflex. Elephants abused by humans carry that trauma for decades. Rescued elephants show measurable PTSD symptoms, hypervigilance, exaggerated startle responses, persisting even in calm, safe sanctuaries years later. But elephants cared for with genuine consistency form individual relationships that are some of the most documented and moving in all of animal cognition research, traveling long distances just to greet one specific keeper. Here's a thought that might keep you up tonight. Dolphins might be studying us exactly the same way we study them. Wild dolphins approach research vessels and divers with curiosity that goes far beyond simple threat assessment. They examine equipment, they watch procedures, they mimic human diver movements, deliberately, not randomly. In controlled experiments, dolphins figured out and started exploiting the rules of the experiment faster than researchers designed for, forcing them to redesign the study just to stay ahead. Dolphins assign unique signature whistles to specific humans they know, essentially giving people names, and they remember those names across years of separation. A dolphin that knew you 5 years ago and meets you again today will recognize you instantly. It has a name for you. It has been keeping a file. Dolphins live in shifting social groups where alliances constantly form and dissolve. To navigate that, they maintain a real-time model of who's trustworthy, and they extend that same model to humans. The dolphin in the bay has been watching you. It has been taking notes. It has opinions, and those opinions are based on actual data. Crows get all the credit for bird intelligence. They've earned it, but they are far from the only birds paying very careful attention to you. European robins form clear preferences for individual humans based on past interactions, becoming noticeably more tolerant of specific people who approached them calmly before. Magpies show similar facial recognition and have been documented targeting specific humans who once disturbed their nests with focused aggression, while completely ignoring neutral strangers nearby. They hold grudges, long ones, which probably explains centuries of folklore about magpies having it out for specific people, for reasons nobody could ever quite explain. Even pigeons, the birds we've spent decades dismissing as flying rats, can distinguish between different human faces in photographs with remarkable accuracy, and remember that recognition for extended periods. Pigeons were used as war messengers for centuries, not just because they navigate well, but because they form persistent bonds with specific people and places. We just decided they were simple. We were wrong. African gray parrots show communicative intelligence that genuinely challenges what we assumed about language, using learned words contextually in situations where the word actually fits. When a parrot looks at the nut jar and asks for a nut, something considerably more interesting than a recording playing back is happening in that small brain. Researchers use a term called the landscape of fear, the constantly updated mental map animals maintain of where danger is, where safety is, and what movement costs at any given moment. Researchers played recordings of lions, leopards, hunting dogs, and human voices to wildlife across multiple continents. In almost every case, animals were more afraid of a human voice than of an actual lion's roar. Not slightly more afraid, significantly, measurably, consistently more afraid. And they're not wrong to feel that way. We've altered the planet's ecosystems more completely than any force since the last mass extinction, and driven hundreds of species toward collapse. From the perspective of any animal capable of tracking patterns over time, and we've just seen that many of them absolutely are, humans are not simply a predator. We are an existential condition. Even the mere knowledge that humans have recently been in an area through scent, sound, or visual traces measurably changes how animals move, feed, and sleep, even when no human is currently present. But it's not all fear, not even close. Off the coast of Western Australia, one wild dolphin population has been voluntarily interacting with specific humans for over 40 years. They approach unprompted. They allow contact. Some have even been documented bringing fish to specific humans they know, not eating them, bringing them as an apparent act of sharing. In East Africa, wild honey-guide birds actively lead specific human hunters to beehives, a genuine cooperative partnership that requires the bird to recognize individuals and know exactly who will actually follow. The bird has learned to read us well enough to know who is actually worth the effort, which is, respectfully, more social filtering than most people manage before choosing a business partner. The capacity for wild animals to form voluntary, mutually beneficial relationships with specific individual humans isn't a fringe finding. It's documented across dozens of species on every continent. So what do animals actually think about us? The honest answer is there is no single answer. There's a spectrum. On one end, deep, ancestral, multi-generational fear, so embedded that a human voice now triggers a stronger flight response than the roar of a predator that's been hunting them for millions of years. On the other end, something that looks a lot like curiosity, like recognition, like the slow, careful extension of trust toward a species that hasn't always deserved it. What runs through both ends is the same thing: attention. Animals are paying attention to us, precisely, individually, and for a very long time. You are a character in their world. You have a reputation. It's being actively maintained, updated, and in some cases, shared with animals who have never even met you. So the real question isn't what animals think of us. We now have a rough answer to that. The real question is, what would they think of us if we finally started paying the same quality of attention back?
Subscribe for more videos like this.